Hello, this is a new audio blog that SOFTRAX will be providing on a weekly basis to cover notable ASC 606 and revenue recognition news, articles, earnings calls, SEC filings, etc. My name's Graham Hulme and I'm the Vice President of Product Management here at SOFTRAX. SOFTRAX is a revenue management and revenue automation company focused on enterprise-level solutions so that companies can meet ASC 606 requirements. Today's blog is to cover the week of October 1st, 2018. Its theme is trust but verify. And so what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a recent example of a company named Tango, Tangoe, Inc., which was a public telecommunications expense management company. The SEC in 2018 charged it with accounting fraud. The complaint that the SEC filed charges Tango with artificially boosting its revenues between 2013 and 15, where it improperly recognized $40 million out of a total of $556 million in revenue reported in that time frame. The complaint further charges four former members of its senior executive team, the former CEO, CFO, VP of Finance, and VP of Expense Management Operations, with falsifying business records and providing those records to external auditors to support revenue recognition decisions, which they knew were, false. And so when we pivot back to the trust but verify statement, the question that came into my mind is how could a company circumvent revenue recognition guidance in place, specifically a public company such as Tango? How could they circumvent the revenue recognition guidance that was in place at that time and get it past external auditors, investors, analysts, and consumers of their financial statements without raising red flags much earlier? And so, in my view, this goes to an issue that existed prior to 606 and could still exist under 606, in that the focus of when companies publish their, publicly available financial information, and I'm focusing on revenue specific to this blog, when that information is published, it's based on, obviously you want to see the results in terms of the quantitative information, and then you want, obviously, as 606 requires, more qualitative information in terms of, how did they adopt, what accounting policies changed, what the impacts were, etc. But I think there needs to be an extension of the disclosure requirement where companies discuss in greater detail their accounting controls, processes, procedures, what systems they use, etc., so that a true evaluation or appreciation can be made by the consumers of that information. So, notably, 606 requires more qualitative information in the form of disclosures in a number of areas. What my point is that if companies provided greater detail on their contract order to cash processes and contract / order to revenue processes, it would strengthen the financial statement and the public filings of their results, etc. It would strengthen the validity of those so that readers could really understand with full transparency if there's any risk associated with how they reach their numbers and how they get to the point of having externally facing numbers that people are making decisions on to invest in the company, and obviously a number of other things. So I would say, let's use an example. If a company is highly, if they had to publish such information, and in it they indicated that they were heavily reliant on Excel spreadsheets with many users touching that information, and that throughout the contract order to cash and contract order to revenue processes, there are Excel files used along the way with different people touching that data all the way up through senior management, and then before it's approved, and then after it's approved, it's in Excel and published externally. the question would become is, as a reader of those financial statements, what level of risk does that introduce? Because it's not a systematized approach where applications are being used, automated or some level of integrations being used. It's, effectively manual lift, hands-on, people-based approach. So that if I'm reading, or if we were reading financial statement with that level of information in it, in a public filing, we'd be able to assess, okay, this company has potential weaknesses in its processes. It doesn't necessarily indicate that their numbers are invalid, but it would certainly indicate that we should be asking potentially different questions of that company to even, to further qualify their numbers, okay? Alternately, if you have, a second company and they publish information in their disclosures that indicates, in their contract order to cash and contract order to revenue processes, that they're using applications with automated integrations and systems that are fully audited, and that approvals are done in an application, not done in flat files that can be modified after it's gone through systems. If all of that is provided as a clean picture to the end user of that information in their public filings, financial reports, etc., that would allow the public and the parties that are consuming that information to have a greater appreciation for the validity of that data. And so, I think when we pivot back to Tango, I would suspect, and again, this was, not knowing the intricacies of what they were doing or not doing, but in that case, if they had to publish information to this level of detail, it would have made it, at a minimum, harder for them to conceal wrongdoing, misstatements, what have you, because there would have been a broader picture for users of that financial information to consume and really evaluate with a critical eye. And so going forward, I think it's worth a discussion about, should we be supplementing the disclosure information related to 606 with greater information about, how is the company taking its revenue information from the point of inception through the point of providing its revenue numbers to the public, in terms of the processes, the people, the applications, and really, the auditability of that process, and not just having assumptions within that a company's financial statements that all of it is being handled properly. I think it may not be the most popular opinion, because it would introduce more work on behalf of companies, but I think if we're truly trying to reach the objectives that 606 stated and continue to, promote full transparency in terms of public companies' financial results, this is an idea I think that's worth discussing. Well, we appreciate your time today, and we'd love to hear from you. If you go to www.SOFTRAX.com or www.revenuerecognition.com, we'd love any comments you have on this blog, any comments you have on blogs you'd like to see or hear in the future. And we'd love to hear from you regardless of what the input is. We appreciate your time, and we hope you have a great week. Thank you.